Hi, everyone, and welcome to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with Wendy K. Laidlaw. Wendy has spent the last 2 years helping women with various stages of endometriosis to heal naturally after putting her condition into remission. After her own healing success from stage 4 endometriosis and adenomyosis, she's inspired to heal others, and her goal is to help some of the 175 million women know that there is another way other than painkillers, drugs, or surgery. This is the place to be for real talk with real people for real results, so you can learn how to heal your endometriosis naturally. Please note that the opinions expressed in this program may represent options, but are not a substitute for proper medical care. Before starting any new healthcare program, we recommend you consult with a health professional.
Hey everyone, it's Wendy K. Laidlaw here, and as always, I do hope that this podcast finds you well. I'm so excited again this week to be sharing another EndoBoss Academy success story with the lovely Julia from Germany. She's a physiotherapist and started working with us on the EndoBoss pathway in the, I think, beginning of the year, sort of February time. And you'll hear from Julia herself, her story, but just to kind of give you an idea of kind of what was happening for her. Again, you probably may relate to a lot of her earlier symptoms, things like bleeding 3 to 5 days, clots, hair thinning, breast pain, lower back pain, shoulder pain, bladder pressure, frequent urination, pain with bowel movements, chronic fatigue, weepiness, restless legs, sensitivity, spotting during the cycles, 8 to 2 days before the cycles, and all sorts of other sort of symptoms and things as well. So again, you'll hear how much her body has responded to the 21-day challenge, the Embracing Emotions program, and then of course where the substantial amount of work that is done in the EndoBoss Academy over 6 months. So I really hope that you enjoy listening to Julia. She really was a delight to have as part of our community, and I hope that you find this inspiring. Enjoy. Hey everybody, it's Wendy K. Laidlaw here from Heal Endometriosis Naturally. And as always, I hope that this podcast finds you well. And today I am with the beautiful Julia from Germany, who has just completed the EndoBoss Academy. And I'm so excited to have her here because she's going to be sharing her experience on the Academy and her journey so far in putting this endometriosis in remission. Welcome, Julia.
Hi, Wendy. Nice talking to you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to come on. I think, you were such a wonderful student and you were so dedicated and committed. And I think before we get into kind of like how the mechanics work of the Academy, I wonder if you could maybe just share what was happening in your body or what's been happening in your body prior to joining the Academy. Kind of maybe give a bit of background when you had your first period and what that was like and kind of what's led to this point.
Well, actually, I think I'm a little different to all the other women on the program since my first period was at 11 and I had zero pain. Yeah. I had actually really good periods. They were always been on time. I started taking birth control very late.
Yeah.
But I noticed when my health went very bad, when I had an infection, I had typhus. And I noticed this where my whole body kind of remodeled. And once I stopped taking birth control pills, like I could watch them rise from month to month. And I would go to a lot of doctors and yes, get some ears sometimes, but not real help for myself. Yes. So this had become very frustrating for me.
Yeah. And what kind of, so I hear that your symptoms worsened. What can you explain just kind of what some of your symptoms were before?
Well, I mean, there were like heavy bleedings. There were like a spotting before I had my period. And then the pain raised. And it didn't just stay during my period. It appeared like during the whole cycle.
Yeah.
Until 14, 15 days. And one of my major events was like a shoulder pain.
Yeah.
And yeah, this was very irritating for me because it took me a while to connect it to my endometriosis.
Yeah.
So once I first got diagnosed, it was pretty quick because I had on my appendix scarf, I had like a little wobble thing that was very hurtful on like 14 days of my cycle. I could not close my pants or anything. And yeah, they cut it off. It was not a big operation. They just did it, from outside. And then I was histological found that I have endometriosis. So at this point, I was like, you research it and you're like, oh, don't want to have this.
Yeah.
But after they removed it, I was not in a lot of pain anymore.
Yeah.
But I was still taking birth control pills, I have to admit.
Yeah.
So once I stopped that, I knew I had endometriosis. And like my doctors would just always talk it down. Always talk it down on me. And yeah, then I have like this really big cyst, was like, how do you say it? Was rupturing in my body.
Yeah.
So I had an operation, and yeah, they found a lot of endometriosis and removed it. And then I had like a lot of pressure because, of course, I'm having the wish of a baby as a young woman. And I felt a lot of pressure getting pregnant very quick. I mean, I wanted to get pregnant very quick, but I always had like those images in my mind.
Yeah.
Like this image of a growing disease, because doctors would tell me, well, we can just cut it out. And it first in the beginning felt good to have it cut out. And then on the other side, but make sure to get pregnant very fast. And this also triggered a lot of stress for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And how did it feel like being told this contradictory? Because I'm hearing like you were told like get it cut out, but get pregnant. What was that like for you when you say you had all that stress?
Well, of course, I read the guidelines, on the medicine guidelines, and I was like, well, I followed them very strictly, doing surgery, taking another pill that suppresses like the estrogen, and we're like a little bit more for progestion. And yes, I want to do it right. And then you have your hope for your family, your growing family, and on the other hand, you have this fear of what's happened if it's not working, and I need to hurry up since this is growing again. And then my symptoms really never released, even after my operations. So this, of course, was frustrating because you were like thinking, okay, there is still a lot of signs that tell me something is not right.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, it was just very frustrating because doctors would hear, okay, she wants a baby. She's kind of like hysterical, I would say. And don't really pay attention. We're like, well, but I still have this endometriosis thing, and this is bothering me quite a bit.
Yeah. So what was that like emotionally at the time? I mean, I'm hearing you were frustrated, but it was also pressure.
I got in a great depression, and I was even mentioning it. I was mentioning, well, I have a hard time getting up in the morning. I'm anxious. I even got, sometimes I got like something like a panic attack, like I just knew from school books. And then I kind of realized, well, this is kind of like, irritating, and it frightened me a lot.
Yeah.
So there was always this fear and hope.
Yeah.
And I kept going, this is, of course, I read books. This is how I found you. But you always have this balance of fear and hope.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that you say that, because that's where we get to, is kind of like we're all brought up and conditioned to go to a doctor and they're supposed to fix us and make us better. So we get the treatments that they say that we should do, but then it doesn't help, or it gets worse in some cases. So then we're left with, well, what do we do? So that's where you have this, you're hoping. And of course, I think we've discussed this in the past, haven't we? Where you almost give up hope. You give it up because it's too painful to have it. And you stuck in fear. And is it any wonder you end up having panic attacks and things?
Yeah. So yeah, that's true what you're saying. And it's like, okay, what I'm going to do. I mean, it's like, I'm coming back from a cycle where I don't have problems. And then I have problems during my cycle, during my period. And then I have sometimes during my half of my cycle. Yeah. So what I'm going to do if this is rising up? I mean, if you're in this situation, you are more likely on picturing bad situations and, worse scenarios as relax and get it done. And
well, that's so interesting that you say that, because that's it. You get into this cycle where you feel helpless, hopeless, and so frightened because you put your hope into someone who's supposed to help you, and all the while your body isn't getting better. So you get more and more frightened by what is happening in your body.
Yes, and I try to understand it by myself, but I work in the medical field, but I think it's very hard, like, to research for yourself. This sounds ridiculous now.
No, not at all. No, it doesn't. The thing is, when you're in it, they say there's this phrase, you can't see the wood for the trees. When you are in it and you're dealing with the daily pain and the disappointment and the depression and the symptoms and the signs, no, and you're just trying to get through the morning, the afternoon, and the evening before you go to bed. And if you're lucky, you sleep and then get up and try to do the whole thing all over again. So no, it's not silly at all.
Yes. I mean, for me, it was like a really big step to ask for help, to ask for further help. I noticed this for myself. Because I don't know, there was shame, there was like guilt. You should know this by yourself. And so I noticed that was very hard even to myself. Like, the doctors have been very hard to me, and I have been very hard to myself too, because I just want to make it better.
And of course, that's it. It's not your fault. Of course you wanted to get better. But the fact that you weren't getting better, and you're having people kind of, as you say, calling you hysterical, for kind of wanting to get answers, that adds the insult to the injury, the emotional injury, as well as the physical injuries that are happening in your body.
Well, for me, it was quite traumatic because I was in Munich in an endometriosis center. I worked there for myself, and I had like this historical proven like diagnosis of it. And I was explaining my symptoms, and I was asking for help, and they would just like say, "Oh, you don't have it." And I was like, well, I would love to believe that, but I'm not making this up. It's so... okay, I had to deal with this, and like not even 3 months later, like this big chocolate cyst just, smashed in my body. And this was very hard for me, like, because I still needed to trust my doctor who did the operation. And, it's always just a big step to find trust again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you need to trust. I mean, you need to find trust to start something. And yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's really interesting what you said about trust, but also about recognizing, reaching out for the right, safe type of support and help, because not only are you, as you say, you're trying to figure it out yourself, but you're in it. So it's really hard to see it. And equally, a lot of these doctors, I'd say 99.9% of them have never had a period if they're a man. And even if they're a woman, chances are they haven't had painful periods, because if they had, they would be so much more empathetic and compassionate and sympathetic to you. But the problem is you tend to be seen by people who think you're just being hysterical and emotional, and you're over dramatizing the pain and the symptoms. And that just makes it really hard to trust anybody, because you go to these people hoping that you're going to be able to trust them because they're going to give you some compassion, but they don't.
Yeah. And I think it's sad. It's sad. And I don't want to blame anybody.
No.
But I wish I would not have to go through that, and a lot of other women would not have to go through that either.
Yeah. Well, I'm a great believer, as you know, that we've gone through it for our greater purpose. And even as you're talking there, I mean, how does it feel to think back to the past when you felt helpless and hopeless and you didn't understand your body? What does it feel like now?
Well, I still have the time where I don't really want to feel back into it.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Yeah, it brings up still fear in me, because I don't want to go back there. Not at all.
Well, exactly. But once you understand your body, then that's different. Whereas you now know your body in a different way. So maybe you could explain a little bit what sort of prompted you to apply for the EndoBoss Academy. What was the catalyst for you?
Well, for me, it was actually the emotional parts. Because I read, like, after I stopped my, like, the how do you say, the main medical guidelines on endometriosis, because after my second or call it third operation, things were not getting better. I started with like gluten-free, and cut off coffee and rest more. But I still, I could not still really be in a relaxed mode or in a mode where I could go back on hope, really, because like, of course you're expecting, and as a woman, you have your cycle just every month. And I like to call it, it's red on white. And you always kind of like have like the feeling is of a proof. Proof of, For me, it was like always like a measurement, a follow up, like, okay, how it's things going. And I just noticed I never worked emotionally before. Like this was something like once I noticed it was very hard to me. I really thought I could have a really big benefit on this one. And the emotional parts, since there are so many diseases where they are idiopathic, where they don't know where they are coming from. And somehow they have to come from somewhere. So, I think this was like from all what catched me. And of course, like, I think it was nice that you published a book I could read. And that I could like take part on the experience you made, and also listen to the experience other women made. So,
I think that's completely natural. If you've had 30 odd years of, and I know you started late before you had pain, but how many years were you in pain for?
Well, really pain, I think 4 years.
4 years.
So
I mean, it's wonderful that you reached out so early. It really is, because a lot of women just go on for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25.
For me, it feels late.
No, but this is where, again, you must give yourself recognition and validation that I know you said it was hard for you to reach out for help, but you did it really early, which was amazing, so you're recognizing that how important that was. And it's interesting as well, you're talking about the emotional component, because we are all feeling beings, and the whole kind of, you being told in that endometriosis center you didn't have the condition, you're like, hey, what, are you inside my body? Do you not, why would you say that to me? So
and even would have it proven, it was not like that. It was it was just like attention or something. So it's
and that's the problem, isn't it? That's the problem, where so many women are dismissed back of hand. Is just like, go away, leave me alone, you're being hysterical, we can't find anything. I don't know how many emails I've had from women in our support team have had from women saying, we've had surgery and they can't find anything. And I'm like, well, it doesn't mean it's not there. It just means they can't see it. So you have to trust your own body for that. But the emotional side is huge, because it's so misunderstood, what it's doing to your sense of identity and your sense of self. You end up living in a body that you are frightened by, that you don't like, that you hate, and you've got this mental dialogue, you've got these emotions that you don't want to have, fear and anxiety and panic attacks and depression, which you try and run away from. So it is a very much emotional journey. And I think you started on the 21-day challenge, didn't you? And
yes, I did.
Embracing Emotions program. And how did you find that those programs helped you?
Well, for me, it was very inspiring to talk to women all over the world, because they all live in different medical systems. So, once you're in your country, you think, well, you have good doctors and they do the best they can. But, there are other countries with great doctors. And then you think like, okay, they are doing the same thing and it's obviously not helping. It's not just me. So it's more like this connection feeling. And like getting to know, okay, what did other women do? And what did they get suggested? And so this was really something that helped me a lot. To get to know women all over the world with the same problem. And looking for solutions.
Absolutely. And also being of the mindset that you're wanting to take back power and control of your body
Yes.
yourself, and to exactly find solutions, but also come together, because there's a lot of negativity out there. There's a lot of scaremongering, a lot of
Yeah.
misinformation, miscommunication, and to come together, that's really helpful. So how did you find the Embracing Emotions program? Because I know that you said you found the emotional component.
Well, for me, it was great because I'm an active person. I like to do stuff, I know I have to help my body healing.
Yeah.
So actually we started, I think from the first day was journaling, and I never stopped until now. So I'm not going to stop, I think.
Good, because that'd be nagging you if you did. I'll be that little voice on your shoulder going, journal, journal, journal.
And yeah, it was nice to get to yourself, and it was empowermentally for me not to really need somebody like to reflect me. I mean, to be able to kind of like talk to yourself. And yeah.
And how did you find it? It's lovely that you're saying about empowerment. And in what way did you find that empowered you? I know you talked about the journaling, but what else? How did it empower you?
Well, I think it empowered me. You're talking about the 21-day challenge?
Yes, and Embracing Emotions. Yeah.
Yes. I think it empowered me to kind of like really putting the feelings into a place.
Yeah.
And paying attention what is triggering some feelings, and you will be surprised what will be triggering you.
Yeah.
So and actually the fact, like the guidelines, like you just notice you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So this takes off a lot of pressure, I think.
Yeah.
And once you're aware of some things, you're aware of them. Yeah. Like you cannot like cut them out anymore.
Yeah. You can't ignore them anymore. Yeah.
Yes. And I think this is like part of a growing part where you can like, develop your own skills, your own senses.
Yeah.
And don't look so much externally, look more internally.
So, and how easy was that for you?
Well, I'm coming from some very emotional times. It is like the journaling part was kind of easy for me, but I noticed sometimes I was not honest to myself. And I think the goal is just to notice, okay, this is why you're having a hard time now really being like honest to yourself about certain things. And so this was quite a challenge for me, but it's also a tool you have, it's not like this one time thing you eat or something. So it's something you keep.
Yeah.
And well, I love involving it now in my daily work. I work with people, and it's very helpful. And it's also very helpful asking myself, do I feel comfortable in this situation? Because I notice I can just perform very good if I do feel comfortable.
Yeah. And what was that like for your body as you were noticing these feelings, that you were just noticing, recognizing that you could observe something, but you didn't have to act on it or didn't feel the pressure? How was that? How was your body responding?
Well, it's good that you ask. Sometimes you don't like to notice because you'll think like, not now.
This is inconvenient. This is annoying.
This is annoying. I don't want to work it through. But in the end, it's like, I think life is a balance.
Yeah.
And there will be good days and there will be bad days, no matter where you are, and who you are. And, I just thought, bad days always have to be good, or I thought my days would be bad for this certain thing. But once I realized, okay, I feel frustration, or I feel anger. Well, just feel it for now. And let it be here, see what happens. And then it's amazing how you can go through it quicker.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's, for me, this was a really great release.
Yeah.
I hope it stays like that.
But you say you hope it stays like that. You know it'll stay like that. Some days will be easier than others. But
you say it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you think has changed within you? Because I know, and you know now, that what you have learned will stay with you for life.
Yeah.
So how do you know that that will stay with you for life? That supportive voice, if you like.
Well, I think one point is I don't want to go back where I'm coming from, body-wise and mind-wise. And yeah, I think once you have this awareness, you'll kind of like to have the awareness too.
Yeah.
And it helps you to put up borders or boundaries. Sorry, my English is...
No, your English is awesome. And boundaries and
borders.
borders.
I'm always like kind of looking for the right words.
Yeah, no, they both are appropriate.
Thank you. Well, and once you learn to have borders or boundaries, and like expecting, or planning and preparing, like, okay, some people might not like my borders. It's helpful. I think it's helpful, and I want to prepare, and I want to, because I also notice now good feelings,
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it happens that you have a good feeling and you feel guilty right away. And I think this kind of went away now. So
I'm clapping for you. Of course it's going away now, because you're learning to accept yourself in a whole new way now.
Yeah.
Allow yourself, because you were stuck and shrouded in the fear and the anxiety and the panic attacks and the depression and everything before, because you didn't understand what was happening in your body and in your emotions. And now you can actually have those moments of light and bright and joy and peace and going up the mountains and going for a bicycle ride, because you're allowing yourself that deeper connection to yourself.
Yes, and this is something I really got out of the program too. I couldn't believe it in the beginning, but I really feel like energy is coming back to me, for me.
Yeah, and where do you think that energy is coming from?
Well, I think it's just maybe the result of everything.
Yeah.
I cannot like really put it to one point.
But you feel like it's kind of like a sort of almost a spiritual energy and a kind of a light, a bright, a hopefulness. Yeah. That there's a lot of light that was in a dark tunnel. You were in a dark tunnel before. There was no light. You were just
obviously, yeah.
Whereas now you're through the tunnel, and what the tunnel's behind you, and now you're just like stepping out into the world in a new way, with a new outlook and a new view about how you should turn up in the world, how you view your body in the world.
Yes, well, I'm thinking about purpose now. Yes, that's true. And yeah.
And what has kind of surprised you the most about what you've learned about yourself?
Well, that's a good question. I think I studied so many years and finally I really studied myself.
Amazing.
So this is one of, I think I really got me better now. I got my parts better, and yeah, I think I really could study myself, like make time for studying myself.
Yeah.
And choose to study myself.
Yeah. And what have you learned about yourself?
I think this is like, for me, it's very intimate to like say what I really have learned for myself. I think to maybe put it in the quotes that I have the power in me.
Yeah.
I don't need external power. I have the power in me. And I think I knew this when I was a teenager. And then somehow I lost it. And so, yeah, this is a good feeling too.
That's giving me goosebumps down my arms. Is like and what does that feel like to hear yourself say that?
Well, it feels good, but I also feel like a little
I know what you're going to say here. I know what you're going to say.
You know it? Yeah.
I knew what you're going to say. But this is...
I notice a lot of critic parts, of course, still. But I'm glad I'm noticing them.
Exactly.
And yes, I would still repeat it. I feel I have the power in me. I still notice some critic parts, but that's okay.
Exactly. And why do you...
I don't judge them.
Exactly. And so why do you think the critic part has come in with the knowledge now that you have?
Well, I think they have been here all the time.
But what was its role? Why was it? Because
it's protecting me, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah, protecting me, of course. Yes.
So I think you recognize that now, don't you? Well, before we used to beat ourselves with a big fat baton with nails in it and smash it across our back, and then chastise ourselves for beating ourselves up. Whereas now you're just noticing, which is shortening the cycle. And equally, I think from your journey, developing a lot of compassion for yourself.
Yes, I would say that so too. Yes.
And how has that felt, connecting to yourself compassionately?
Well, it feels for me that, I'm important too. Yeah. Besides all the patient people all around.
Yeah.
And feeling compassion for yourself. It's like getting to know you even better, because then you start like about fun things, what you like to do. And
how easy was that for you to feel that compassion for yourself? I know we've talked about your critic and we talked about that, but where you're at now, we know that the critic we don't want to lose the critic. The critic is there as a protector, and we thank it. But how does it feel to hear that compassionate voice for yourself?
Relaxing. It's relaxing.
Yeah,
it is relaxing, and it gives me some space for new things. And like you like to say, slow is fast, I think this sentence has a lot of compassion itself.
Yes, exactly. And because of the type of personalities that we are, we need to keep reminding ourselves it's going to take time, because there's that fear normally in behind everything. Fear of regression, fear of it coming back, fear of it overtaking us and swallowing us up. So we need to have this understanding with ourselves that the body's always regenerating, always repairing. Yeah. And our role is just to see kind of what are the 5 Ps, the produce, the products, the property, past people that is affecting our immune system.
Yes, and I don't want to underestimate the other Ps, besides,
No, of course not. But I think most people get produce, get products, get property. What a lot of people struggle with is past and people. They underestimate the impact of what has been stored. I think it's Gabor Mate, the author, says that disease originates from our childhood. There have been elements along the way that we've learned to suppress, or ways of being that have developed patterns and habits that just haven't been conducive, haven't been helpful to us. So it gives us an opportunity, pain and illness, to really examine our thinking, our thoughts, our feelings, our jobs, our relationship, everything. It gives us the opportunity to do so. And it's not necessarily easy, because I always say that to everyone, it's not an easy journey, but it's so rewarding once you start to learn more about yourself.
Yeah, it's true.
And how would you describe that EndoBoss journey? Because you've been doing this for 6 months now. Well, probably longer.
Well, it was very time filling, I would say, working in a job and, working at home.
Yeah.
But as I say, I put so much energies in my other studies. So for me, it was easy to if I commit to it, I commit to it at all.
Yeah.
And to work it. So I enjoyed working it, because I noticed I really do it for myself, and to get to know myself, to get the support, and you're not alone. You're with more women.
Yeah.
And I just like systems where you have like, you're not like working against each other, so you're working with each other. So yeah, this was, I think, in the journey, it is a lot of work, and it is time. You make time, but you also make time for yourself.
Absolutely. Well, I think you said it. We don't tend to put a lot of time into ourselves.
Yeah.
And all our energy and focus is going externally. And that's why the body is screaming, saying, you need to pay attention. You need to listen, because there's things that we're not happy about subconsciously or in the body. But when we do put that in, of course, it's hard work. It's supposed to be. But once we get into the momentum, it's like riding a bike. The first time you sit on a bike and you've never ridden before, you keep falling off, and it's hard work.
It's a great metaphor. Yeah. You get into routines.
Yeah.
And I think it's like also like coming back to paying attention. It's like, like cutting off gluten is not something you do like just for fun.
Yeah.
Because it's a life decision. But once you notice how your body feel with it, it's easy for you to continue.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about this awareness about yourself.
And of course the support as well, because these changes aren't easy sometimes to make.
No.
You need, when you're having a wobble or you're having fear or you're having kind of like a moment where you're like, is this going to work for me? Am I going to be okay? Will I ever be well again? Can I really do this? That's when you need the support.
Yes. And it's not like a quick fix. It's not like, okay, I'm doing this for a week and everything will be fine.
Yeah.
So you will have certain moments where you notice, okay, this is getting better now. Like for me, I had like the skin irritation. And once I stopped eating gluten, this was like away within 2 weeks.
Amazing.
But yeah, they're all, I'm still on my journey, and it's, life is always coming in the way somehow. So,
and that's it. Now you recognize how the external affects the internal.
Yes.
You recognize your worth and your value to take the time to journal, to meditate, have your power shake, to pay attention to what food's coming in, what products are coming in, because whilst it might feel annoying and irritating at times, because there's a part of you going, it's not fair, at the end of the day, as you said, we now have the power to make a big influence, a big impact on our body for good or for not. And it is a lifestyle change. If we all went back to the way that we were living and eating and stuff, the condition would come back with a vengeance and more. So, I mean, you're fantastic, because it took you 4 or 5 years to, that was all that you had, but then you've dealt with it really quickly, which is amazing, because that's going to really help your body speed up its healing and repair process. Whereas I was 33 years, it's just like, I had to be hit by a 10-ton truck before I ended up bedridden, before I would stubbornly have to re-examine everything. So that was a really long way back. So it's wonderful, because you are still young, you still got your whole future. And now you have this other level of knowledge and information and education, and you understand your body, you understand your emotions, your feelings, your emotions, your body, and how all that impacts, how people impact you. There's people that can be incredibly toxic and make your muscles tense and release lactic acid, just by even speaking to them on the phone or on the computer.
Yeah, I want, and I think the nice thing is I want to grow in it. I feel like I have a good basic, and I see results, and I really have the motivation on expanding it, and even getting into it like deeper, getting more. And as I said in the beginning, once you have the awareness, you have it. You cannot. You don't want to put it away.
Well, no, because obviously it's been a challenge to put yourself at the center of the attention. And once you've learned that that's not selfish or bad or guilty or makes you, is an awful thing to do, it's actually what you need to do. And then you can then give other people more focus, because, you've taken care of your body, because there is nobody else that's going to teach you about your body except for yourself. This is where the education information is important. So like you said, you have this power now. You know your body. Obviously, it's surely quickly going to tell you if it doesn't like something. And the trick now is that you understand as you listen to your body now.
Yeah.
You understand what your body's telling you. And most importantly, you understand what you can do to help and support your body.
And I think this really is the release.
Yeah.
To have this tool bag, to have, opportunities to make choices.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really powerful in itself. And that allows for greater healing, not just the physical, because it's not just a physical journey, is it? You mentioned the emotion, but it's so much more than that. That you've really connected with yourself really deeply and really beautifully on this journey.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you have. I've seen you grow and blossom and thrive and flourish and navigate situations and people and places and already, your life is already. I think we're going to be seeing you on some magazines and billboards soon, are we not?
Oh, we'll see.
but already, you're expanding because you're not living in fear anymore. Yes, there's always going to be parts of you, because if you've lived a certain way and you've been treated a certain way, then those things live in you. But now you have the self-support system of understanding the needs that you have. Is it just to give yourself some space and time? Is it just to slow things down? Is it to go for a walk up the hills or go for a bike ride or go and pick your flowers in the garden? You understand that's as important to you and to parts of you now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It is. And I think like even my friends or family, they say, well, Julie, you got this strength. They would always tell me I have strength, but now they tell me it's different. And yes, of course, I like to hear that.
And in what way is it different?
Since I'm more settled, I would say. I think for me, I know it's just the external feedback. So for me, it's not as important. I just notice it's okay. They notice like strength and, tell me you deal with this great in their opinion. And so it's of course cheering me up. And the other side, I don't, it's always nice to have external feedback, of course, like everybody likes it.
Yes.
But I just notice I don't need it so much.
Amazing. Anymore. Yeah. And why don't you need it so much anymore?
Well, I can, I talk to myself, like, it sounds ridiculous when I say I talk to myself.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh, yeah. How are you? No, yes, you through journaling, I think this is one of the key elements. You can have the opportunity to ask yourself, give feedback with yourself. And for me, it was a very important or a very big challenge to learn not to judge everything. Especially for myself.
How did you find our EndoBoss coaches, their support of you and the group Q&As and things like that? How did that help you?
Well, for me, the group Q&As, of course, have been very powerful to me since, you have more women listening to actually similar problems.
Yeah.
And it's just different if you hear it from somebody else.
Yeah.
I can't explain why, but yeah. And of course, having a coach by yourself, it's great. It's great to, they helped me to tune into myself. They were not like this big advice, because actually you find the advice for yourself. And I think this is the empowerment part. Yeah. But to really get the feeling and to ask the right questions, what you think about it or what to journal about it.
Well, that's it, because our role is not to dictate to you about yourself.
Yes, of course.
It's increasing awareness, as the AIEIE. A is for awareness, give you the information, education, keep you inspired, which leads to empowerment. So by reflecting back what they hear, and you then hear yourself reflected back, and with your one of the safe person, it allows you to explore elements of yourself, because perhaps you didn't get that support and encouragement that you needed growing up. So that's where this self-critic takes over and becomes quite big and self-depreciating. So this is why it's important to have safe people to reflect back the awesomeness that was in you.
Yeah. Thank you. I noticed critiques about awesomeness.
I was going to say there was a bit of a delay there. I'm like, you're not getting away with that. So what would you say to anyone considering applying to the EndoBoss Academy? Because we don't work with everybody, but we're looking for a particular type of woman who's just ready to put in the work, ready to make the commitment, and ready to go for it. So what would you say to someone who's considering applying?
Well, get every information that you can, and it's very inspiring to connect with the women around the world and to get like support. I think it's an investment, but I also think it's worth it, since yes, once you stick in your old kind of way, I think it's also worth it to try to do the best you can. Yeah. But once, I would not waste time, since it's so nice if there's a sunny day and you can go out and hike or go for a swim or anything, and don't count about your period. Can I do this because I have my period then? And then I'm 10 days after my period. Okay, this is probably not a good time.
Yeah.
So, I think it's important to talk about women health problems. I think women health problems are so much underestimated. I mean, the WHO, is this the right spelling?
Yeah.
WHO just established 2007 a department for gender medicine. And this is like nothing. So I think it's very, very important that we talk about women health problems and, look for the solutions and not for the frustrations.
Absolutely. And I think that's important what you said there. It's looking for the solutions, looking for the root causes, and not, because the main medical field is designed as symptom suppressors, dealing with the symptoms rather than looking for the root causes. And this is where I know you feel in your own journey, you understand your body now. So you're always looking for, what has triggered something, why is something flared up, why is your body showing the signs? So you're getting to the root causes.
Yeah, well, I can just talk for my endometriosis. And I just know that the medicine needs more answers to endometriosis, reachable to everybody, because I think no woman should suffer from it.
Well, the problem is you've got women who are already in pain having surgery to get a diagnosis.
Yes.
That is the biggest issue. Women shouldn't have to have a surgery to get a diagnosis. And women have probably been suffering for a long, long time, even before they get taken seriously. Yeah. And then number two, they're given drugs, which cause, all digestive problems, side effects. And then they have surgery, more surgery, which again, we get emails all the time of the most barbaric side effects, mistakes, different sort of things that happen to women. That doesn't get to the root cause of why it's flared up appeared or flared up in the first place. And that's where I feel, from an educational perspective, young girls at school, teenagers, high school should be taught about their bodies so they can understand what triggers, because pain with a period is not normal. And that's the problem as well. The narrative is, that endometriosis is incurable. That word incurable should not be in front of endometriosis.
And it's very frustrating, once you get the diagnosis. And you hear.
Of course, you shouldn't be told that. Again, there was a news article just last week where another lady, a young woman, had overdosed because she was told it was incurable and she was in so much pain. And there's so many women suffering needlessly that don't need to suffer if they, again, the doctors and surgeons are just a byproduct of their training. That's just government trained organizations. That's their training. As you said at the very beginning, you've recognized that all over the world, they follow the same procedures. The medical system hasn't changed for gynecological for almost 150 years. We still carry out the same procedures, but we send men to the moon or to Mars.
Well, and I think the female cycle is the fifth vital parameter, and it just never get really checked, even in routine medicine checkups. So,
well, I think what they've tried to do is clinicalize the female system. I mean, you just have to go through history to see how women have been treated. You mentioned hysteria. That used to be classed as a disease.
Yes, I know.
For crying out loud. You just have to give a man one period and he would never mention the word hysteria again. No. But these are facts. So what we're dealing with here is, the fact that the gynecological training needs to be modernized, the approach. You need to have women getting information, education, awareness. They need to understand that pain with their period is not normal, and they're not shamed into the shadows about the pain, because a lot of women don't talk about it. I think you mentioned that as well, like how great it is to be around women, and we're talking about bowel movements, and we're talking about pain, and we're talking
important,
about blood clots, whatever, because we shouldn't be ashamed about these things, because if you understand what's happening in your body, you can then learn to do something about it. And that's what this is all about. This is why you're now a boss of your endometriosis, and EndoBoss, because this is about taking action and power and control where you know how to do so.
Yes, well said, Wendy.
Thank you.
Yeah, as I said in the interview, it's exciting. It's exciting to be in the focus, and where it's how do you say, your symptoms and your diagnosis always gets underestimated. Like okay, let's do surgery when you have time. Not talking about other options, and now being all in the spot, and it's the chance to speak up for the women.
Absolutely. And I think that's it. I mean, there was an article I read. I get Google alerts on that come into my email. And this lady felt she had no choice. She was mid-30s to have a hysterectomy. £24,000 in the UK it cost her. That surgery. 24.
She has to pay it by herself?
Well, she went privately because she would have to wait 2 years to get a hysterectomy on the NHS. But she had to borrow £10,000 and did a GoFundMe thing for 14,000. But what bothered me the most, apart from the fact she's in debt now and doesn't have a uterus and ovaries that she needs as she gets older, is
this is so sad.
It is. It's awful, and this is why I do what I do, and this is why I do it in the way that I do it, because I want women to know that there is another way, that that when they're told that there were no more options, that there are other options. And it's all about taking back power and control.
This is really bad. I know there's a German actor. She was 31 too, and she was in the big newspaper talking about endometriosis, and they removed her uterus as well.
Yeah, it happens because the first thing they do is
it would be horrifying, because this would be like the end of one of my hopes.
Absolutely. And this is it, and women don't know. If you're presented with one choice, they don't know that there is another choice.
Yes. And I was at today I worked at the oncological clinic, and there was like a man with prostata removement, and they also do the laparoscopy with the belly blowing up, and he was like, this was so much pain. I never had so much pain in my life. And I was just, thinking back and like, well, okay, this was not the worst thing about the operation, just the belly blowing up. I mean,
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, I thought about like, okay, if a man would have a period, we would not have.
If men had a period and that pain, do you think
every month have a period every month?
Every month that lasts, 2 to 3 weeks of that month, do you think they'd be investing their trillions of dollars in a spaceship that goes up to Mars and back? I didn't think so. I don't know.
I think South Korean, they have like governmentally now extra days off for period pains for women. They have it new.
Well, at least that shows a bit of compassion, but again, doesn't really address the root causes, does it? Yeah. And how is your shoulder? Because I remember
the shoulder is good.
So no pain in your shoulder?
No pain. Well, it's amazing. Yeah, no pain on my shoulder. And I think Dr. Sarno put a good put on it too.
Good, fantastic. And it's very interesting once we start paying attention to different pain points and what they're trying to tell us and things as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm glad my body gives me that break, this experience, I think this is so important too. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's awesome. That pain's gone as well.
I would not, and I really think I could not do the photo shooting if I would not have joined the program. I could not have done it. I know it. Because I would be so afraid about how my body would react. Mm. And I noticed I did not have an endo belly for 2 months or so, even during my periods.
Amazing.
And this just gives me a different confidence as a woman too,
Of course. Yeah.
Because I never feel attractive having an endo belly. Mm. Or even with low progestin if you soak up water, in your body. Yeah. And so this is giving me confidence.
Beautiful.
And thank you for giving me an honest advice. Thank you for reminding me and for your advices. It gives me more comfort and it means a lot to me too.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. What would be your parting words? What inspiring statement would you say to any woman who's listening to this right now?
And what I would say about the whole program, well, of course, every woman is worth it to be healthy. And every woman should believe the body's healing. It's just a little, ask yourself what is stopping it.
Yeah.
So, and never, ever give up hope. Never. And form your visions. Form them big and yes. Follow for solutions.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending the time to chat with us and sharing your journey. Welcome. I am so super proud of you for how far you've come. The journey that you've been on. I know that there's even greater greatness up ahead. Probably it's not the best grammar in the world, but there is more greatness up ahead for you. And I know your dreams and aspirations. And when they come true, I'm going to ask you to come back on and share. Yes. And we're going to talk more because I know it's an emotional subject. We're not going to go there right now, but I'm going to get you back on when that happens, because I know it will happen for you. But you've been an amazing student. And I think that's why I call my clients students, because I want you to continue to be a student forever about your body, not only the physical, but the emotional side of things as well. And just keep dialing up that light and power within you.
Yeah, I will try and I will do it.
You will do it. Okay, Julia, thank you so much for coming on. It's been wonderful for you to share your journey.
Thank you. And hi to Scotland.
And
to the rest of the world.
And the rest of the world too. But look, thank you so much for coming on. You're a star. Keep in touch with us. Let us know how you're doing.
Yes, I would love to.
I would love to hear how you continue. But you're such a superstar. You've done an amazing job. Keep up the great work. Hey everyone, it's Wendy again, and I hope that you found great inspiration from listening to Julia's story. And if you're at that point in your own journey where you feel that you need to take a different pathway, then make sure to check out the EndoBoss pathway at healendometriosisnaturally.com/programs, where you can look at just putting your pinky toe in the water of what it's like just to get people to support you, understand you, and feel you as you begin this journey. So look at starting the pathway on the 21-day challenge and just get a taste of what it's like to really start to connect with yourself and your body in a whole new way. I look forward to meeting you as you join the EndoBoss pathway. And until then, to your health.
Thanks for listening to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with Wendy K. Laidlaw, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and rate us. If you're interested in learning more, you can download your top 5 jumpstart tips at healendometriosisnaturally.com and jump on the VIP email list. Remember to keep you number one. The world needs a healthy you.